I believe it's time to begin. Good morning. I'm Don Retzer. I'm your oldest Board of Directors member. I have survived. And if you're having difficulty seeing me, as I said a couple of Sundays ago, I look old. So probably enough said about that. If you're having difficulty hearing me, let me recommend this device. I am hearing impaired, and I will wear these. They work very well anywhere in the sanctuary here. I am a last-minute replacement. The one who was going to do our greeting this morning wasn't here, so I was pointed to by the staff and said, "You do it." So here I am. This week I pulled out boxes of my old sermons. I had been a preacher for 25, 30, 40 years, and so out of the 5,000 sermons that I wrote, it makes big boxes of trash. It does remind me sort of the passing ephemeral value of the preaching experience, because you sort of have to be here to be in it. And so that's why it's especially important for me to be here with these people here this morning, because this was not part of my tradition that they're bringing to me this morning. And so it's just delightful for me to be engaged and be here in person. And I'm glad that you're here in person as well. Welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Don. Good morning. I am the Reverend Sherman Z. Logan, Jr., and I have the honor and privilege to serve in this wonderful congregation as the senior minister. I am a tall, brown-skinned black man, white beard, bald head, wearing glasses, and today I'm wearing a blue suit, blue shirt, and blue pants. I use he, his, him pronouns, and we are delighted to have you with us today, whether you're here in person or joining us virtually. This morning, leading worship with members of our Jewish Lives and Unitarian Universalist group. And we have Steve Salzberg, Sheila Chandler, Helene Meadows, David Brewer, Denise Rhymes, Carol Wayne, Courtney Howard, and Darlene Dragabon. We have Jamie Kilpatrick, our worship and music director. Our hymn leaders are Barry Ramsey and Joanna Walker. And our lay pastoral care associate is Terry Wolf, and she will be available to meet with you after service in the conference room next to the receptionist desk. So now's the time in our service where we welcome our visitors. So if you are visiting with us today, and if you are comfortable, please raise your hand, and Jamie will bring you the mic. So do we have any visitors with us today?
Good morning. I'm Bethany. This is my mother, Marilyn, and my son, Alden, and we are visiting for the first time from the Verina area.
You're welcome.
Good morning. My name is Diana Chappelle. I am visiting for the first time, but I was here for the last cluster. I am a member of Coastal Virginia Unitarian Universalist Church in Virginia Beach under Reverend Viola Abbott.
Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Dr. Kiyama Rahman. I'm also visiting from Norfolk. This is my son. He'll introduce himself. But I'm just delighted to be here. I'm the afternoon speaker. This is my granddaughter, Malia.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Askia Rahman. I'm here from
by way of Atlanta through Norfolk, Virginia. Just retired from active duty Navy service for 28 years, so I'm really happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for your service.
I'm Dan Finfinger. My wife and I just moved here from Clarksville, Tennessee, so visiting for the first time.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm visiting for the first time. There's not too much else to say, but thank you all for the welcomes.
Hi, my name's Summer, and I moved out here from California a couple of years ago, and this is my first time here at this Unitarian church or any Unitarian church. So, thanks.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Just that side of the room? It was just all over
I think we got everyone covered, Jamie. Thank you. We're so glad that you are visiting with us today, and may you find this place filled with spirit of love, justice, and belonging. Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and take a moment to greet your neighbors and welcome our visitors.
Good morning. I'm Courtney Howarth. early middle-aged white woman with a striped shirt and glasses. Our call to worship this morning is the Call to Gather for the High Holy Days, Days of Awe by Leah Ongiri. This is the season of repair, a time to reflect on how we might endure. When life tears us, we are held by the great book of life, in which it is written that we will inevitably face deprivation and discomfort, longing and forgiveness. Each among us must contemplate our own place in it all. As those of us in relationship with Judaism mark the high holy days, our hearts fill with hope and fear, turning and settling, mystery and agency, accountability and acceptance. Let us gather today in somber celebration of our shared humanity and our personal power. Come, let us worship together.
Hi, I'm Carol Wayne, and I'm a white woman whom mainly I would like for you to see that I feel very welcoming and toward you and very happy that you're here. And my pronouns are she, her. We light our chalice, symbol of our faith, for truth sought through a questioning heart and an attentive mind, and for love pursued through obstacles inside and outside our own human heart, and for forgiveness and all it entails, the place where truth and love meet and merge.
The opening hymn is on page 323, Break Not the Circle.
I see Louise is coming up to tell us about, I guess it's the last service of this month's Share the Plate. Louise?
Well, good morning, all. I'm Louise Werner, and I am a tall woman, Caucasian, of a certain age, with gray hair and an auburn tint. Today I am wearing a light blue top. Now, for this month's Share the Plate, you have all been hearing about an organization that's close to my heart, the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, which is one of the oldest advocacy groups in our Commonwealth. Now, I have been involved in VICPP for over 11 years. My first experience was when I attended, and I hope many of you will in January, the Day for All People. This is a day when all people of all faiths who believe in justice come together to lobby for what we believe will make a just Commonwealth. Last year, over 400 people attended this great event. Now, being involved with me, for those of you who know me, can't stay away from something I believe in, and I have been a volunteer in their office for over 3 years. It's, by the way, I'd like to add, for those of you who know her, Reverend Jean Pupke was one of the founding members of this marvelous group. Its mission is quite simple. Learn about issues challenging all in our community, pray for guidance to help all, act to make a more justice, compassionate Commonwealth. It's a nonpartisan organization, and it establishes relationships with our legislature. Now, as a side note, once legislation that is specific bills, which you might hear about if you're on the email list, can be passed or die in committee, or when they're passed, they go to the governor who can amend it or veto it, which is why it is so important, and VICPP realized this. Advocacy does not start in the months before when we start meeting with our legislators, but through the power of the vote. I am pleased to be part of the 100% voting initiative. Those of you who don't know it or haven't seen, we have a poster. Please sign it. And please, we've already started early voting, and put your stickers on it. Because let's remember something that cannot be taken away from us. It's the power of the vote. Again, your generous contributions will help this group continue with the concept that all faiths believe in justice. The collection will be taken and gratefully accepted.
Hi there, I'm Darlene Dragavon, a petite white woman in her middle 70s with short brown hair. My pronouns are she and her. I'm reading Boundless Love and Forgiveness by Joanne Giannino. In Jewish tradition, the 4 chapters of the book of Jonah are read aloud at Yom Kippur. Jonah is a minor prophet in the Hebrew Bible, but he has a big message. Some of you may know his story. Jonah is sent by God to Nineveh to warn the people that if they do not change their ways, they will be destroyed. But Jonah doesn't want to go to Nineveh. The people there are not his people. They are not Jewish. And he knows that they won't listen to him. Who listens to prophets anyway? So he steals away onto a sailing ship. Of course, the God of the Hebrew Scriptures knows where he is and troubles the waters. When the crew finds out that God is after Jonah, they cast him overboard. He urges them to, actually. Jonah doesn't want them to suffer for his transgressions. Of course, God wants his prophet to make it to Nineveh, so he provides a big fish to swallow Jonah up and keep him for 3 days and 3 nights. Just enough time to think about what is at stake here. A long time out, right? Well, when the fish coughs him up, again, God sends Jonah to Nineveh. This time, Jonah goes. There, he warns the people that they must change their ways or be destroyed. And lo and behold, they listen. Who would have thought it? They are not destroyed. They live anew. But Jonah, the reluctant prophet, doesn't understand this turn of events. He would have had the Ninevites thwarted anyway for being so bad in the first place. He would have preferred God not give them a second chance. Not recognizing his own second chance after his time in the big fish, he becomes angry and goes away to sulk on a hill. But God, who in the end is most gracious, patient, and generous, and knowing the human heart as God does, makes room for all people, the Ninevites and Jonah, to make mistakes and to change their ways. As listeners and readers of the tale, we can only hope that Jonah eventually understands something about this timeless, boundless forgiveness and love, and rejoins God's people.
My name is Steve Salzberg. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm a 5'10" man with light skin. Today I'm wearing all white tennis shoes, white slacks, a white shirt, and of course, a white beard and hair. The reasons for this will become clear as we proceed through today's service. I was raised Jewish, had a bar mitzvah at a synagogue in Los Angeles, and during the years on the way to confirmation, I got calls from our rabbi to come to Saturday morning services to make a minyan. There's a required number of Jews, then men only, required to get together to pray on the Sabbath. and he asked me to come in to make the minyan. I had a softball game that morning, and he asked what was more important, God or baseball. Thus was the beginning of my faith journey, with some encouragement by my mother, thank you, I went to the baseball game. I was married by a rabbi, but that marriage did not work. So, my wedding with Sheila was in a Unitarian congregation, and that marriage has been a marvel. So, we are here today to talk about and celebrate the Jewish High Holy Days, which last 10 days from the Jewish New Year to which was on September 23rd, to Yom Kippur, which is on October 2nd. And since the Jewish New Year was just this past Tuesday, Happy New Year! During the Sunday morning services that JOUU has done in the past, we talked about the meaning and traditions of this holiday. So let me briefly catch you up, because today we're going to spend most of our time on the end of these high holy days, Yom Kippur. And so the holiest day of the Jewish year, which means that worldwide we'll celebrate the coming Wednesday and night and Thursday. So, but let's back up to Rosh Hashanah, the high point of those 10 days, the celebration of the New Year, which 2 years ago was celebrated in this congregation with the blast of the shofar and the ram's horn, which celebrates us and wakes us up. And during that time, we also traditionally eat apples dipped in honey to feel the sweetness of life of the new year. Then starts the day of repentance. The traditional meaning is that our behavior determines if we get God's blessings for another year. So that means Jews have work to do during this time. Last year we talked about asking for forgiveness from anyone that you may have offended or treated badly. If we use Reverend Anna's sermon on September 24th, the hurts we do on another is an oops, and the hurt that we receive is an ouch. And you have 8 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to deal with the oops and the ouches from the past year. I have to gather some energy and chutzpah, a Hebrew word meaning audacity and hubris. So yeah, the time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur can be challenging, unless, of course, you've had a perfect, boring year. So Helene, come up. And one of the ways that Jews deal with the oops and ouches is tashlik.
Lashana Tova, Happy New Year, everyone. The Tashlich ceremony is a Jewish custom observed during the High Holy Days, particularly Rosh Hashanah, where people symbolically cast their sins into a body of flowing water. Participants traditionally toss breadcrumbs into the water while reciting verses from the book of Micah, signifying their desire to be cast off from their transgressions as they enter the new year. This ritual emphasizes repentance, renewal, and God's mercy, often with an afternoon visit to a pond, river, or sea. I think of Tashlich as essentially a religious ritual. Rituals are very important in all major religions, although they vary greatly. Catholics have confession, Jews have Yom Kippur and Tashlich, among many others. At First UU, we recently celebrated the water ritual. Another is the child welcoming ceremony. Rituals help express something of our interior life, and they are often celebrated in community. Tashlich specifically helps to express regret over some misdeed, either intentional or unintentional, by word or deed. Reverend Anna said our oopses implied is the thought that we will strive to shape more positive behavior in the future. My training as a clinical social worker helped me to understand better the psychological defense called guilt by control. Guilt or fear-producing statements can be made by parents, guardians, friends, and indeed religious institutions. They are made to induce guilt or fear in another in order to control or manipulate behavior. I have often heard the phrases Jewish guilt or Catholic guilt used to express this phenomenon. Rather than using guilt or fear to make personal decisions, I choose to honor my own ethical system and make decisions based upon a blending of heart, head, and spirit, with love and the belief that each person has worth and dignity at the very center.
As I said, the holiday culminates on Yom Kippur, and we're going to spend the rest of this service concentrating on that. And there's many facets and traditions around the holiday. What is most famous is the service on the eve of the holiday, the service of Kol Nidre.
My formal religious training took place in the conservative branch of the Jewish faith, culminating in my confirmation at age 14. I was given the book, The Jewish Home Beautiful, by Betty Greenberg and Althea Silverman. The Jewish Home Beautiful had a chant, a woman's chant, before the Kol Nidre, a most beautiful piece of music, was played. And I will read that for you today. Kol Nidre, chant of ages, chant of grief and chant of triumph. Echoing this night of memories in the ears and hearts of all people, once again you draw together all faithful people. Faced by grim, appalling forces in these days of woeful living, may we seek mercy for strength, help, and guidance with your plaintive chant, Kol Nidre. Rise our prayers to source of all, for a surcease of all our sorrows, for the dawn of peace and freedom, when all hearts are purged of hatred, passions, lust that rend asunder. Then we will all stand together.
Thank you, Jamie. Kol Nidre literally means all vows, V-O-W-S, vows. It's an ancient formula said on Yom Kippur Eve, declaring all vows null and void. And this is what it looks like at any synagogue in the world. Before sunset on Yom Kippur Eve, worshipers gather in the synagogue. The ark is opened, a person stands on each side of the rabbi, and the three of them form a Beth Din, a rabbinical court. They recite in Hebrew a prayer that means, in the heavenly academy and in the earthly academy, by the authority of the divine and by the authority of this congregation, we hold it lawful to pray with these sinners. Yeah, sinners. The assumption is during the previous year, we had not had that perfect year. So, Kol Nidre is the first prayer that evening. It's the invitation to declare vows void and null, to create a fresh start. It is not specifically for Kol Nidre, but for the whole of Yom Kippur. It's being obvious that when even sinners join in repenting, the occasion is worthy of divine clemency. The cantor then chants Kol Nidre with its touching melodic phrases and varying intensity, as you heard, from very quiet to very loud. Traditionally, it's repeated twice. Once was enough, thank you. The prayer begins with an expression of repentance for all unfilled vows, oaths, and promises made to God and to each other during the year. Kol Nidre even exists in popular culture. Comedian Louis Black, who is Jewish, frequently refers to Kol Nidre as the spookiest piece of music ever written. Kol Nidre plays a dramatic role in movies called The Jazz Singer. And it's been on several movies and on television. In the 1927 film, Kol Nidre is sung by Jewish entertainer Al Jolson. In the 1952 version, it's sung by Danny Thomas, who is amongst these the only non-Jew who does this. And in the 1959 television version, it's sung by Jewish comedian Jerry Lewis. And singer Neil Diamond performs it in the 1980s film version. Last year, JLUU watched the 1927 version. We are pondering watching the Neil Diamond version this year. The plot's simple. After 5 generations of cantors in the family, one young son decides to become a jazz singer, or in the Jerry Lewis version, a comic. And this causes great stress and disappointment by his parents. In the end, the son comes home on the eve of Yom Kippur to his dying father, who hears his son chanting Kol Nidre, and he dies in peace. Did I ruin the movie for you? As we have said, Kol Nidre means all vows, and it is a way for Jews to reboot, to let go of promises and tasks they made, and promises they made before, and start afresh. Often, of course, reminding themselves of the tasks that they still want to and need to accomplish. While the service on the eve of Yom Kippur is important, there's much more to share about the holiday. David?
Good morning. I'm Dave Brewer, a heavyset white man in my 40s. I use pronouns he and him, and I'm also wearing a white shirt. So Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the days of awe. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have a clue what these words or things mean. After finding this Unitarian Universalist congregation in 2022, 2 principles really spoke to me that I learned about. The third being acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth in our congregations. And fourth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I've always been curious about Judaism and Jewish life. The principles were my ticket in. And learning that we have this JLUU group, this is my grand opportunity to jump into the deep end of the pool, and I was lucky enough that Steve threw me some floaties so that I can get by. I can only describe the experience as receiving a gift. The box is really heavy, and once you pull the contents out, you can't put it back in the box. I would like to share a few things I've learned about this faith tradition. Did you know that it is now the year 5786 per the Jewish calendar? They measure time differently than the Gregorian calendar that we typically see and use. We are now moving through the last part of the days of awe, approaching Yom Kippur, known as the Day of Atonement. What does that mean? Let's go back a few weeks to Rev Anand's oops and ouch reflection. Imagine the times that you've oopsed or hurt someone and you write it on a whiteboard. Now imagine you have until New Year's Day to fix or atone that oops. After resolving it, you get to remove that note and wipe it off the whiteboard. You do this by directly working out with the person involved or God before time is up. Better sooner than later. There are some specific traditions for Yom Kippur atonement that Jews typically follow. Examples are fasting or not consuming of food or water on Yom Kippur as a part of self-denial. It's about actually feeling the sensation and the purity of hunger and thirst. The traditions of wearing white robes to outwardly show a cleansing or time of purity. Remember the cleaning of the whiteboard? Hence why we wear white. Wearing of leather is prohibited during Yom Kippur. Some see it as the wearing of killed animals and is not the right message to send while seeking atonement. In today's times, you'll see people wearing modern tennis shoes or even going barefoot, representing being a closeness to God. So in reflection, can you see the value and justice in atonement with the intention to set things right that we individually may hold inside and possibly hold on to for years if ignored? Can you see the value of pluralism in seeing different perspectives in the beliefs, that beliefs aren't absolute? Can you see the power of transformation, that nothing is set in stone? And if it seems so, that stone can be cast off in Tashlik, unless you have birdseed, which is preferred and much more environmentally friendly. So let's hear some more words about Jewish faith tradition. Sheila?
Good morning. I'm Sheila Chandler, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm a white female in my late 60s, 5'5", with gray, blonde, curly hair, and I'm wearing white. I would like to tell you a little about my religious background. From the age of 10 through my teenage years, I went to the neighborhood Baptist church because of the active youth group. And I have some experience with the Catholic Church. You'll have to ask me about that later. When I met Steve Salzberg and started learning about Judaism, as Steve stated, we were married in the Unitarian congregation 43 years ago. And after our children were born, I converted to Judaism and we raised them Jewish. What attracted me to Judaism was the emphasis on how we live our life here on earth and tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is a concept in Judaism that means to repair the world. It refers to the shared human responsibility to engage in actions that improve and perfect the world, helping to address social and environmental problems. This congregation is actively involved in tikkun olam, and it fits with my values. So I find myself today speaking about death in relationship to Yom Kippur, and when speaking about death, words like deeds, actions, and intentions are used. I'm going to touch on three parts: how Yom Kippur relates to the Jewish person's death and life. The second part, the Yizkor service, which is remembering deceased family and friends. And the third part, the mourner's Kaddish. I actually do have some audience participation. Yom Kippur related to the Jewish person's life and death. According to some rabbis, Yom Kippur is called the day of rehearsal for our death. As David said, it's a tradition for Jews to wear white on Yom Kippur. Jews are buried in a white shroud. And again, as David said, many Jews fast. Many Jews fast and don't drink on Yom which is also like death. The Vidui prayer, which means confession, is recited on Yom Kippur, which is also said on the deathbed by a Jewish person. But the purpose of the Vidui prayer on Yom Kippur is three things. Ask for forgiveness. You'll do a list of your transgressions. Introspection, mean it's time for self-reflection where individuals consider their actions and intentions throughout the year. Community responsibility. The use of the plural form we in the Vidui prayer emphasizes that the community shares responsibility for its actions and supports one another in trying to do better. The list of transgressions is said together as a congregation because everyone may not have committed a specific transgression, but the fate of the community is intertwined. So I would like for us as a congregation to read a humanist version of the Vidui together. And it's going to be up here on the screen. So can anybody who would like to can read this with me? On this day of reflection, we turn inward to examine our actions and their consequences. We acknowledge that we are responsible for the good and bad in our life. We confess the harm we have caused to others, and we take responsibility for our any conflict. We resolve to be more mindful of our words and deeds. We strive to act with greater integrity and compassion. We will do our part to repair the world, starting with ourselves. For the times we have been dishonest, we will seek to be truthful. For the times we have been unkind, we will seek to be gentle. For the times we have been indifferent, we will seek to be engaged. For the times we have selfish, we will seek to be generous. For the times we have caused pains, we will seek to offer comfort. We forgive ourselves for our mistake, as I hope others will forgive us for theirs. We will learn from our failures and use them to become a better people. We commit ourselves to living a life of purpose, meaning, and love. As Mary Oliver says at the end of her poem, The Summer Day, tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. The second part I'm going to touch on is the memorial service. Will you read that just for a second?
The Yizkor prayer, Yizkor means remember. Yizkor is a Jewish memorial service to remember deceased relatives and friends. The prayer involves a commitment to give charity in memory of the departed, which, through remembrance and good deeds, help bind their souls in the bond of life. Remembering those departed individuals who have shaped and influenced our lives is part of reconnecting with our truest selves. The prayer, said during the Yizkor service, is a memorial prayer that expresses the hope that deceased rest in peace. Keep
I'll
going.
try. My brother passed away in the spring. Let me share a humanist tribute. Full of compassion, we turn our thoughts to this final moment. We grant a peaceful rest to our loved ones who have passed from this life.
We grant a peaceful rest to our loved ones who have passed from this life and returned to the earth. In our shared memory, may their legacy find shelter. In the strength of our connections, may their memory be a blessing. The love and goodness they gave to the world remain their heritage. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen.
Okay, I'm going to try this. The last part is the mourner's Kaddish, which is said during the Yitzhak memorial service. The mourner's Kaddish is not a prayer for the dead, but a Jewish prayer that praises the spirit of life and affirms faith in life, healing, immense suffering, and loss. Recited by the congregation, it serves as a testament to the eternal bond between the spirit of life and humanity, focusing on comfort, peace, and legacy of the departed. Often used in a Unitarian memorial service is a poem from a Jewish prayer book that I'd like for us to do as a responsive reading. We Remember Them by Sylvan Kamens and Rabbi Jack Reamer. So I'm going to read the line, and then I'm going to try to read the line, and you guys will say, "We remember them." At the rising of the sun and as it goes down, at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, at the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, at the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, at the beginning of the year and when it ends. As long as we live, they too will live, and they are now a part of us. When they are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have achievements that are based on theirs, for as long as we live, they will live. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us. So in conclusion, Steve and I attend the Yom Kippur service most years. For me, it's a time for self-reflection on how to be a better person and to practice Tikkun Olam in the coming year. Shalom, let it be so.
Our chalice extinguishing is More Than One Life by Lee Hubert. Lighting a candle is somewhat like the beginning of life. If that is true, then perhaps extinguishing a candle is like the ending of life. But death may not be the end of us. We live on in the memories of friends and loved ones. The influence we possessed in life works on, moving persons or causes forward. Let us not forget that most candles have more than one life, and so perhaps may we.
Good morning. My name is Denise Rhymes. I am also a woman of a certain age with gray hair, black and blue glasses. I'm a white woman and also wearing a white shirt. My pronouns are she and her. Please rise for our benediction and closing hymn. These closing words are entitled Let Go by Lois Van Leer. Let go of all that binds you, of all that burdens you, of what you carry, of all that shames you, of fear, of trespasses and transgressions, of woundedness. Let go of guilt. Let go of anger. Let go of small-mindedness and pettiness, of ways of being that no longer work for you, of compulsions that consume your living. Let go of what you cannot change. Let go of regret, of that which haunts you. Let go of pain. Let go of ways in which you missed the mark. Just let go. Our closing hymn is number 315, This Old World is Full of Sorrow.
Hey, Eric, I forgot to warn you. Can I get the green one? Thanks, buddy. I want to teach y'all this hymn. part of my ongoing series of sing stuff we don't normally sing, but it's still cool. All right, so repeat after me. This old world is full of sorrow. This old world is full of sorrow. Full of sickness we can soar. Full of sickness we can soar. If you love your neighbor truly. Love will come to you the more. Love will come to you the more.
curious about the pianist for a second.
Hey, Mr. Donovan was the best. He's our accompanist.
Pretty tight. Pretty tight so far. That could be a little better. But Trixie, did you hear how they're like swallowing a little bit?
They did.
Ooh, that's nice.
They did much better.
That's lovely. Show on your voices.
I'll remind you earlier for our winter concert, because that's going to be something. And I'll bring my music on Wednesday to show you this.
I'd love to see it.
It's something.
Pretty.
Yeah, I love that song.
That was nicely done. Good job.
Also, our director, Miss Hazelwood, she's only 26 years old.
Not bad, kid.
She's
And
very
she hasn't been broken by the system yet. You can always see that in teachers, you know, like when they get jaded and broken.
Oh, yeah. My math teacher.
I love tonal clusters stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's what she does. She goes like this to remind us. She's like, come on, guys. We got this. We've only gone over it 100 times.
Yeah. No voices in there. They're like, I'm here.
That
Yeah,
would be
you
us.
are.